In the 1990s, my daily commute to downtown Manhattan had me schlepping past the Fulton Fish Market to my fancy office building with windows overlooking South Street Seaport. The Meatpacking District, Hell's Kitchen, Harlem, undesirable and not on a real estate listing anyone would touch. Until someone had the vision to see the possibility and make that investment. And once it all started, well, Fish Market became FiDi and Meatpacking was rebranded as the Highline, and it all suddenly seemed so obvious. But I wonder, when we can't see someone else's vision, should we look harder or stop looking? And that's what we're going to tackle today. Back before the word gentrification became synonymous with hike up the asking prices, the word picture it opened my eyes to possibility. Vacant warehouses were reimagined into loft spaces. Dilapidated parts of the boroughs were getting overhauled to fill the housing needs, and instead of building brand new, attention was paid to rehabbing the recyclable. And as outsiders came inside our neglected neighborhoods, they came with hope, idealism, and the understanding that there are grants for growing. They just need to be written and implemented. So by the time I got to Jacksonville, the fourth fastest growing city in Florida, the options seemed endless. If downtown can be the Manhattan equivalent, well, Riverside, Springfield, Brooklyn are the local versions of Riverdale, Sunnyside, and, well, Brooklyn. And I can see it clearly. So can my guest. She is third-generation Jacksonville, a fixture in the local landscape of art, culture, and entrepreneurship, and the Director of Community Engagement for the Phoenix Arts District in the revitalizing Springfield section. Hi, Emily Moody.
Hi, Susie. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being on. Did any of that sound viscerally familiar to you?
Yes, it's right in the heart of what we're doing at Phoenix Arts District.
That's fantastic. So before we talk about the project, let's talk about the people. As someone with strong ties to the city, take us on your journey of Jacksonville. How did you come to this time and space where passion and purpose came to define your professional career?
I grew up in Jacksonville, like you stated, third generation. This is my roots, this is my home, but I moved around a lot and came back in my early 20s because I just felt like there was an opportunity here to really make your mark and have an impact on a community after learning in other cities, Dallas, Atlanta, LA. I just wanted to come back and do that for my own hometown.
Right. We get excited when we go elsewhere and we can bring that back to where our roots are. We feel like we're taking part in the wings.
Really laying the foundation from learning in other cities and then, yes, coming back here and being able to just develop something new and fresh and something Jacksonville hasn't seen before. So I started that with a boutique in 5 Points.
Yes.
Then a live music venue.
And those were emerging neighborhoods at the time?
5 Points was always a place where, like, you turn 16, that's where you want to go after you get your driver's license.
Okay.
You know, like, it's always the cool neighborhood. But over the years, you've seen a lot more smaller stores leave and more restaurants come in and, less small business, I think, over the years.
So back as an entrepreneur, you were taking a chance because...
Just taking a dive.
Yeah. And how did that work out?
I was in 5 Points for almost 7 years.
Wow.
I launched my live music venue in the back of my boutique. Underbelly.
I read about that. It's legendary.
We were award-winning back in the day, and now it's been reopened, and it's really exciting to see that little baby have another whole life in downtown Jacksonville.
Okay, so this is when you're really young and still inexperienced and you're taking a chance. And beyond that, you take a venture into the true cultural landscape of Jacksonville at the Commer Museum.
Yes, so after my nightlife travel experiences, I wanted to get kind of a safer 9-to-5 job, and the Commer Museum has such an amazing track record in the city for being a leading arts organization. And so I started there in 2013, handling events and programs, lectures. I booked all the music, just kind of creating that culture and that placemaking that was going on at the museum.
It really grew during that time frame. When I first moved here, the first thing people say is there's no culture, right? If you come from a big city somewhere, the first thing you do is you want to piss on a small town. And I'll admit that it took me a little while to find those niches, but once I found one, it's like a shark tooth.
Right.
You can't
stop looking at it, seeing them.
Right. So the 5 Points became Avondale, became Springfield, became these downtown, became Orange
Park.
Park.
Little boroughs, just like New York, just like you were referencing.
Say that again.
The little boroughs.
Like the boroughs.
Jacksonville, Florida.
That's exactly how I saw it, and I never stopped seeing it because the first trip was over a bridge. And for a girl from Brooklyn, New York, going over the Brooklyn Bridge or through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, there was that, I realize now that 10 minutes, that's all it takes to get from one side to the other, and it changes everything. It opens up the entire area for people to live, grow, thrive, and still take advantage of the opportunities.
It's true. I mean, I drove here to the studio and it was 13 minutes away, but in that time I went through, Springfield, downtown, and then into kind of a more commercialized, like Gate Parkway area. So I think there's so many different neighborhoods and so many different vibes that are going on at the same time in one big city.
True story. So you've been here for a long time, and then let's just get it out. Because I have made it my mission to clear up misconceptions, I have to ask the uncomfortable questions, right?
Okay.
So, for every time I can envision value in what Jacksonville has to offer, I have heard from a long-term resident that Jacksonville is where renderings come to die. As a long-term resident and a visionary, what say you?
Well, I have also heard that little tidbit, and I'm a Jacksonville champion. I do what I do because I want to see things move forward and progress, and so that is why I am now on the current project that I'm on, because I believe in this city, and I believe we can have nice things. We do have nice things. We can keep going and keep growing, and I think that that's really important to continue on the path of progress for Jax.
Right. So there's always two ways of looking at things. For every problem you can find two solutions, or for every solution you can find two problems. And we are very solution-driven people.
And I'm eternally positive. I try to be, and I feel like when you can put your passion and your heart into something, you can really make it happen. If you build it, they will come. So that is the motivation of this entire podcast, is building the plane while we're flying it, because we're going to think good and it will be good. We're going to build it and they will come. So let's talk a little bit about the inspiration for the project. Who is the investor? What is their track record? How did Springfield, the historic district, come to expand out into Phoenix, the arts district? Or did Phoenix, the arts district, always exist? Well, a little back history on Phoenix Arts District. Christy Frazier, a longtime Jacksonville resident, entrepreneur, and her so many different things she's done over the years in the
visionary,
city.
Cultural visionary.
True visionary. We have to give credit to Christy because she's the one that really put the stake in the ground for Phoenix Arts District. And she started that a few years, or I would say maybe 6 to 8 years ago, and just slowly created a vibe with the arts scene, had artist studios in there. And then now fast forward to today, Tony Cho, he is our founder and CEO. He owns Future of Cities, which is a think tank and regenerative placemaking group out of Miami. And they were looking for different areas of Florida to invest in because they did want to stay within the state of Florida, and came upon Jacksonville. Next thing that happens, they're up here touring with Springfield Preservation and Restoration, SPAR, and they just fell in love with the neighborhood. They heard Christy was selling some buildings, and kind of the rest is history. Over the past 2 years, we have been able to amass about 10 acres. So we have a lot of property that we're working on, and it's just 2 blocks north of the historic district. So we're at 14th and Liberty is the cross streets of our main offices, and that'll be where our first activations are going to be taking place, and actually already are.
Let's talk plan and process, commitment and community. All of those are part of the mission of the Phoenix Arts District and the Friends of Phoenix. Paint me a portrait of what is happening now and what is in progress.
Well, I've been on the project for a year now, and in that time, lots of planning, lots of discussions, so much brainstorming, and really laying the foundation for what we want to launch and do in the neighborhood. We are, like I said, we have lots of square footage. Mm-hmm. We want to co-create with the community, though. So we want other people to come in and be inspired by what we're doing and jump on our bandwagon and bring their businesses down here. And that's really what we're hoping to do with the actual project. So there's so many social good arms of our project that we really wanted to focus on. And so we've launched Friends of Phoenix nonprofit, and that'll be supporting 4 pillars around social equity and inclusion, affordable housing. We're going to be doing arts and culture, and then a whole technology and innovation piece. So those 4 pillars will really be a focus for us on how we can build up the community and help create with the community and the residents that are right there.
So kind of like I teed up at the beginning, back in the 1990s, in those neighborhoods where people were in a negative context saying, those yuppies are coming in. Well, guess what? Those yuppies wrote grants, and those grants came in and revitalized parts of the community that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to, A, afford to do on their own, and 2, we're not garnering enough attention from local city, local legislation, so that those parts of town were getting squeaky wheel, right?
Well, yes. I mean, and also it's a huge food desert over there. I mean, there's lots of people that don't have access to transportation. So a mile and a half to a grocery store doesn't sound that far away, but it does when you don't have transportation. How are you toting back all of those groceries? There are smaller little shops that they can find like very processed foods and all of that, but there's not anything. Okay,
so I don't want to dumb this down, but I'm not always very aware, right? And my very, very first episode of this podcast was really designed to talk about being woke versus being awake. So when you say food desert, I want to be very clear. When I first moved to St. Johns County, I remember I took a ride and the realtor took us from Phillips Highway up Racetrack Road, and there was nothing developed there 8 years ago. Nothing. And then they took us to a house to look at, and we went there. And I remember saying, like, where's the closest supermarket? And really complaining. And the truth is, had we come from another direction, probably 4 blocks away was a Publix. And I was complaining about the 4 blocks away Publix. So explain to people who are not familiar with that part of town, what does food desert mean to you? Where is the closest Walmart, Publix, Winn-Dixie, Rose, grocery store? For lack of a better word, where I was growing up, we called a neighborhood corner store the bodega.
Yes, there's not really even that many bodegas around.
So talk to me of what does food desert mean?
That's accessibility to food for people. So the closest grocery store, there's one downtown. There's also
8-minute drive. So are you talking about the Publix that's over the bridge?
No, there's a Publix in Riverside. That would be the closest Publix. There is a Winn-Dixie over at Gateway Mall. And then there's a Harvey's downtown, like at the kind of closer to the stadium. So none of those are very accessible for the residents right in our quadrant of community.
Okay.
Target, I mean, the closest Targets would be Regency or all the way down in Ortega.
Okay.
Nothing close.
So for right now, you're taking a part of town and somebody else is coming in and willing to make that investment and seize the opportunity in hopes that the city of Jacksonville is going to provide the resources to help bring that project to fruition.
Correct. I mean, public-private partnerships are really important for us, and I didn't really give a background on Tony Cho, but I want to mention that he did develop Wynwood in Miami. He was one of the original
Wynwood
founders.
Arts District?
Yes.
So that's why this looked very familiar to me. I was very lucky that Emily took me on a tour, and I want to hear more about that aspect of this. I think this is where we're going to debunk renderings come to die, okay?
Tony definitely is a visionary and a real estate visionary in his own right. I mean, he knows what he's doing. And Wynwood, although he's been exited from Wynwood for a while, I mean, he saw the opportunity and possibility for that neighborhood. And we are also not trying to recreate a Wynwood here in Jacksonville. And me being on the project, I feel like it's important to keep it unique to Jacksonville.
Right.
So that's something that we definitely are striving to do.
Okay, so let's talk about events that take place in that space that are community collaborative. It was really fascinating to me because, again, I had right away the East Village Flea Market in mind when I walked between those. You're nodding your head for those that are listening and not watching the clips. You're nodding your head because you saw what seemed obvious.
Well, we've just launched the Phoenix Flea for All. So
really?
Once a month, we're doing an outdoor flea and makers collaboration with a ton of small businesses in Jacksonville. We've got a Fishweir Brewery comes out. We have a DJ. It's just a really cool, fun, friendly vibe. And just, again, creating space for people to come together and share.
It also introduces you to a new part of town that you otherwise wouldn't be familiar with.
I always say, come immerse yourself within the art that's right around your buildings.
Oh, that's a great tagline. It really is all around the buildings over there. So let's talk a little bit about how far you are from the rest of the parts of town. Is it bikeable?
Well, we will be bikeable because we actually are part of the connection of the Emerald Trail, if you know that project.
I am familiar with that project. So explain to me what the public-private art business, I know what I saw with my eyes, but paint me a little bit of the picture of what the dream future of city of Jacksonville, Springfield redevelopment looks like to you.
We want to be a place where you come and you park your car and then you get out and you bike and you walk around our entire property. I mean, we're going to have everything from food and beverage to tons of entertainment. We're going to have pocket parks kind of scattered throughout the footprint of our space, which will all be connected through the Emerald Trail. If you're biking, you can bike from Riverside to our area through the Emerald Trail. And once that's completed, it's just going to be huge for the city.
It's unbelievable. It's such an opportunity.
It's really exciting.
So when I walked inside, what was most impressive to me is that I saw, picture this, viewers, listeners, on card tables, there were these layouts of what looked like a Monopoly board and glasses filled with marbles. And I asked Emily, what is happening over here? And what did you tell me? Because it blew my mind. You invite people in.
So we're really passionate about building this together, like I've said. And
with
we really
the community, with the neighborhood, with the people who live there. You're not looking to
come in and say, and this is what we're doing, and whether you like it or not, here we are. We really want to gain feedback from everyone. And so we've been doing these community engagement pieces where, people get their 10 marbles and they can spend it however they want in their glass jars. And there's jars that, if you find that transportation's important, you can put all your marbles in that jar. But then there's also urban agriculture and sustainability and, art studio spaces. There's a bunch of different components of the board. So when we have our arts meetups, when we have our community meetings, we're inviting people to interact with that activity so that we can gather their feedback. And it's a cool visual, too, to see the jars filling up and what seems important and what's maybe not as important to some people.
That's so fascinating. I thought what I was most impressed with is that when we met, you were ready and prepared, and you also were very comfortable to say, well, this is an active work in progress, and we are looking at what was an opportunity on a previous project so that we can perfect it moving forward here on this one. And we're a work in progress because when we see the needs of the community shift, we're willing to shift with those needs.
That's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what we want to do. We feel like it's so important to gain feedback from our neighbors and the residents and all of Jacksonville. What do they really want?
Have you gotten a lot of feedback? Have you gotten outside community involvement? How involved is the Historic District of Springfield, SPAR? How connected are you with those entities?
We just actually, like 2 weeks ago, did a presentation at their quarterly meeting to fill them in on the project. We want to communicate with everyone about and really be transparent about what we're working on. So sharing and then gaining feedback and, shifting as we need to or as the project progresses.
So how can we find out more and stay in the loop on all things Phoenix, upcoming events, the I love this, Flea for All. I'm amazed. So
it's super fun.
What's the website? What's the weekly, monthly you said?
Right now we are doing the Flea monthly. We're doing, it's about the middle of the month on a Saturday. So
on a Saturday.
It's on Saturdays. We are shifting for June, July, August. We're going to be doing evening flea because you know how hot it gets around here.
Yes.
So we're doing 4 to 9, so maybe it's a little bit cooler
So you could literally go from Riverside Arts Market to the Flea for All.
Get some food at one of our food trucks.
Yeah.
Grab a beverage. We have sequential coffee that comes out.
Wow.
And they have the most delicious cold brew you've ever tasted. So really just working with all these small businesses and bringing everyone together is so important to us. And it also is building the culture of the neighborhood.
So where can we find the upcoming events?
You can go to our website. It's phxjax.com. And then on there, you can also sign up for our newsletter. You can go to our events listings, and we have a full calendar, and we're keeping that updated with all the new and exciting things we're working on.
Fantastic. I'm so excited to attend your events, and I'm really looking forward to the marble one.
Well, you can come and do the marbles whenever you want.
I'm looking forward to it. And is that event space available for private rental or?
Not currently.
Okay.
So we are going to be rehabilitating the buildings, and that'll be over the next year. And we're hoping to get those online for event rentals and then also co-working space and artist studios. That'll all be coming on in early 2024. We have that space is going to be about 30,000 square feet total.
So exciting.
Creative office between the studios and then about 10,000 square feet of event rental space.
Okay, so I just want to say something really quickly before I say goodbye to you. Emily said something that I loved. She said to me, we really love if artists come in here and they decide they want to just, work on our walls and stuff, and they want to do stuff in here. It's okay. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I can't wait. Were you being serious?
Well, we do consider ourselves a safe space for artists to come out and paint on our buildings. And we are doing also, we're really excited to announce this, and it's actually getting announced on Monday, but we're going to be doing the 48-hour Mural Festival in conjunction with the 48-hour Film Festival.
When is that?
That's going to be at the end of September. So it's going to be over 48 hours, and artist teams, we already have 33 artists that are interested in participating, and we have to cull that down to 10 teams.
Wow.
And they will have 48 hours to paint their mural.
Okay, so this isn't airing this week, but give all that information now for artists here in Jacksonville or the surrounding areas. You can go to where to find out more about the 48-hour
Mural Festival, and it's in partnership with the 48-hour Film Festival. So we're doing it the same weekend that they do it.
Jacksonville is so cool.
We've got so many amazing creatives here, and just really creating space for them to continue to do their work, I think is so important.
Right. We don't need you taking your talent to South Beach.
No, stay here. We have it all.
Emily, thank you so much. It is a privilege to spend time with you. Your energy, and she smells delicious, is really a breath of fresh air.
I'm so glad we got connected. I'm so happy to meet you.
The privilege is all mine.
Thank you.
And now it's time for our honorable mention. Mensch is the Yiddish word for a person of integrity and honor, with a sense of what is right and responsible. This week's honorable mensch is Lauren Rickoff, the Director of Campaign and Women's Philanthropy at the Jewish Federation and Foundation of Northeast Florida. Lauren took on her role with the vision of not only increasing the campaign's financial goals for the local Federation branch, but also creating engagement, enrichment, and emerging leaders who are socially aware and becoming more active in our local community. I was privileged to graduate from the inaugural class of the LEAD program that Lauren envisioned and initiated here. As a working mom, Lauren is a role model to women locally and globally, and together with her husband is creating her own emerging leader in her daughter, all while inspiring me to want to run, if only to share in the beauty of Jacksonville that Lauren sees through her vision of unending potential and marathons.